I always loved, when I was little, the puzzles connect the dots. I'm still trying to connect the dots in many ways. And Jesus asks us today to connect the dots in the gospel. If we listen to the story of the woman at the well, for Jesus, the dots do not connect. Why? Because he meets a woman who, in the eyes of the good Jewish religious leaders, was a bad person. And now Jesus himself is breaking all the rules. First of all, he's talking to a woman, alone, in public at noon, which certainly was not good. He was sharing a drinking cup with a woman who was unclean, a Samaritan, rubbing shoulders with a poor person and an unmarried person, having no social standing or rights, belonging to no one, because after all, the poor and the isolated did it to themselves. Wealth was a sign of God's favor, and poverty, isolation, and separation, all a sign of God's disfavor. The real difficulty, a real difficulty for those who believe in the gospel of wealth, and that poverty definitely was a sign of God's unhappiness with the person. And she was living with a man who she was not married to. And she was a Samaritan, different religion, different practice from another area beyond the borders of acceptability. So if we, like the people of Jesus' day, can make her a bad person, or we can make others bad people, it frees us from having to look inward into our own lives and having to connect the dots of God's love. What does the gospel say? Jesus sees her. What does that mean? He sees that she exists. She's not a number, but a person who has wealth, worth, who has value, and has significance. He interrupts and distracts all of those who are pointing fingers at this woman and at him, but especially at the woman, saying that she is disreputable, should be ostracized, and she's a foreigner, harboring and creating fear and anger in the people around her. And what does he do? Jesus makes her the hero of the story. In fact, he stays in the Samaritan town for 2 days with the Samaritan people. That alone is enough for him to get crucified. And what else? She sees him, as we hope we all do, that we are loved. She sees him and recognizes that we are all loved regardless of our standing in the community, and that the good news for her and for us is that in connecting the dots, we see each other. We see each other because we are called to be, for our communities, springs of water, living water, fountains, vessels of God's revelation. And if you remember in the first reading, the question in the dryness of the times, when they were in the desert, is God really with us? And that's a question that people ask us today. Is God really with us? And we have all kinds of experiences where we can point to the bad people who somehow seem to surround us and influence our lives. But the invitation, I believe, the invitation, like the invitation to the unnamed woman today, is to leave behind those water jars of our life that are so often filled with the tragic realities of real life, that tear us down, that sow seeds of hate, distrust, anger, and the illusions that keep us spiritually, emotionally, and socially thirsty and unable to connect the dots in our lives and in our communities. So maybe repentance is more than always being just about forgiveness. Rather, maybe repentance is our ability to connect the dots and to see more clearly who we are and who others are in God's eyes. God bless you.